Alex Pereira just dropped a bombshell and admitted he was the one behind that retirement post, not some hacker like he originally claimed. Back in May, a post went out from Pereira's X account where he said he was feeling disheartened by the UFC. This was right around the time when Yuri Prochazka was in talks to potentially fight for the title at UFC 317, after Pereira had already turned down Magomed Ankalaev. The post hinted that Pereira was even considering retirement. After 4 title defenses in less than a year, many fans thought maybe he just wanted a break, especially after getting outworked by Ankalaev in the main event of UFC 313. But then Pereira came out and said, "Nope, that wasn't me, my account was hacked." For months that was the story, until now. This week he finally walked it all the way back and admitted he actually wrote it himself. Through his translator, Paulo Cruz, Pereira explained that he was upset and acting on impulse when he made that tweet. He admitted that it came from a place of frustration and miscommunication. According to him, he found out certain news through social media instead of directly from his camp or the UFC, and it got him heated. At that time, emotions were running high and he posted without thinking things through. He now admits he regrets doing that and says he was wrong because he didn't know all the behind-the-scenes conversations happening between his manager, his team, and the UFC. Paulo clarified that it wasn't the UFC's fault, but more of a miscommunication between Pereira's camp, his manager, and UFC officials. Alex felt hurt after seeing talks online about a potential title fight with Yuri Prochazka, while he had just turned down Ankalaev, and that made him feel overlooked. In reality, things weren't as they seemed. The UFC was still working through discussions with his management team, but because Pereira first saw updates through social media, he assumed the worst and reacted too quickly. He felt like promises made to him about a title shot were being broken, and instead of waiting for full clarity, he posted that emotional message. Now Pereira has owned up to it. He said it was 100% a lack of communication and a bit of immaturity in the heat of the moment. He admits he acted too early and should have spoken to his manager first. By seeing things on the internet and reacting without knowing the facts, he ended up creating unnecessary drama. That's why he deleted the tweet later, but by then fans had already seen it and rumors were spreading everywhere. According to Paulo, Alex has cleared things up with the UFC. He understands now that there was no betrayal or hidden agenda against him. It was simply a breakdown in communication, and the situation escalated because he reacted with emotion instead of patience. He has since acknowledged his mistake, accepted responsibility, and emphasized that there's no issue with the UFC. So after all the confusion, the truth is finally out. That retirement post was real, it came directly from Alex Pereira himself, and it was born out of frustration and miscommunication. He regrets it, he admits he was wrong, and now the focus is back on moving forward with his career. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. Moving on to another news, Boralho recently sat down with Kamaru Usman and Henry Cejudo, where he revealed some fascinating insights into the rise of the fighting nerds and what makes their training camp so unique. Despite Carlos Prates suffering his first career loss to Ian Gary, the team has been on an incredible run with Jean Silva, Boralho, and Rofi all riding impressive winning streaks. Boralho explained that their real edge doesn't just come from what they do inside the gym, but more importantly, what they do outside of it. He shared that the fighting nerds take preparation to the next level by using modern data analysis, tracking devices, and extensive film study. Their process allows them to break down opponents with precision, find weaknesses, and then design specific game plans to exploit those vulnerabilities. According to Boralho, that level of detail is exactly what separates the fighting nerds from every other camp in the game right now. What's interesting is that Carlos Prates himself recently admitted that he strayed away from their carefully crafted game plan in the fight against Ian Gary. Instead of sticking to the strategy, he went hunting for that one-punch knockout and paid the price. But true to the team's resilient spirit, he bounced back in spectacular fashion, delivering a stunning spinning elbow knockout over Jeff Neal, instantly putting himself right back in the mix. Now Prates is scheduled to face Leon Edwards at Madison Square Garden this November, a massive opportunity to climb back into title contention. Meanwhile, Jean Silva and Boralho are currently the two closest members of the fighting nerds to securing a shot at UFC Gold. Silva is set to face Diego Lopez in what could easily turn into a title eliminator, while Boralho himself is preparing for a huge showdown with Amav in just a few days. The team's momentum continues to grow, and Boralho emphasized that much of their success comes from a philosophy they live by: we fight the fight before the fight. He broke it down further, explaining that they essentially live the fight during training, but outside of those sessions, they're constantly studying, searching for patterns, and identifying tendencies in their opponents. Boralho revealed they even have a dedicated data scientist who creates specialized video breakdowns. For example, they'll take 10 of an opponent's fights, isolate only the beginnings of each round, and then stitch them together to study exactly how that fighter opens. If a fighter relies heavily on a 1-2 combination, they'll pull footage of every time it's used across multiple fights, string it together, and carefully analyze what triggers it, how it's set up, and what patterns lead into it. By doing this, they can anticipate the opponent's habits with far greater clarity. Then, during training, they drill those exact scenarios over and over. Boralho mentioned they'll practice the opening of a round 20 times in one session, repeating positions and moments until they've prepared for every possible reaction. This scientific, detail-driven approach allows them to step into the cage already knowing what to expect and how to neutralize it. It's this relentless commitment to strategy and detail that has turned the fighting nerds into one of the most talked about teams in MMA today. With their combination of discipline, data, and determination, they're proving that preparation truly is the difference maker at the highest level. Moving on to another news, we got some emotional updates from Submission Radio where Javier Mendez revealed a pretty heartbreaking situation involving Khabib and Islam's upcoming camp. For years, Javier has been in Islam's corner, guiding him through major fights, and he was also one of the most important figures during Khabib's legendary run. He has been a constant presence in Team Khabib for more than a decade, shaping some of the biggest moments in Dagestani MMA history. But now, things seem to be changing. According to Javier, he was originally supposed to join Islam's training camp ahead of UFC 322. Everything seemed to be in place until he got a call from Khabib himself. On that call, Khabib told him directly that they didn't need him for this camp, and he should just stay in Dubai. Javier explained that Khabib made it clear they'd only call him in if they felt his presence was necessary, maybe a few weeks before the actual fight at Madison Square Garden. For someone who has been so deeply involved for so long, this sudden change hit hard. Javier lives in Dubai now, and while he was fully prepared to head out to Dagestan as usual, Khabib told him that wasn't required. Instead, he asked Javier to rest, stay comfortable in Dubai, and just wait until September when they might fly over to him. Javier shared that Khabib reassured him by saying, "Coach, I'm the old guy now. They just want to give me time to rest because they know I love Dubai." Then he outlined the plan. The team would begin training camp on September 14th, prepare for Usman's fight on October 3rd, move on to Umar's fight in Abu Dhabi later in October, and then finally travel to New Jersey for Islam's big night at UFC 322. Javier accepted it calmly, saying he has always gone with whatever the team needed. In his words, "Whatever they want me to do, I'm going to do. I've been there, done it all." He described himself now as more of a backup guy, someone who fits in wherever his team requires. His loyalty runs deep, as he emphasized that these fighters are not just athletes to him, but family. Whether it's his American Kickboxing Academy family, or the Nurmagomedov family, for him it's all one and the same. He admitted that his role has shifted. He doesn't need to be front and center anymore, and he's fine with chiming in only when necessary. If things are running smoothly, he isn't going to step in to fix what isn't broken. Still, it was clear from his tone that this adjustment is bittersweet. After over a decade of being a core voice in Islam's corner, and Khabib's corner before that, stepping aside in this way is emotional. But at the same time, Javier expressed nothing but excitement for the future. He's grateful to still be part of the journey, even if the role looks different now. For him, the bonds he's built with the team go beyond fighting. That's why, whether he's in the gym, in the corner, or waiting on standby in Dubai, he will always be ready when his family calls. This shift marks a new chapter for Team Khabib, showing how their structure continues to evolve while keeping their foundations of trust, respect, and loyalty intact. Moving on to another news, Big John McCarthy and Josh Thompson recently broke down what they believe is the future of Khamzat's fighting style. After his title-winning performance against du Plessis, a lot of fans criticized the fight, calling it boring and saying Khamzat didn't show that explosive and destructive version of himself that people were used to. Instead of the chaos and highlight finishes, we saw a methodical, control-heavy approach. But according to Big John and Josh, that's not a sign of decline at all. In fact, they argue it's Khamzat operating at his absolute best. They pointed out that his performance against du Plessis was a masterclass in efficiency. Rather than taking unnecessary risks for flashy knockouts, Khamzat is now playing the long game. He's grinding out fights with relentless control, the kind of suffocating pace that opponents simply can't escape. This, they say, is his bread and butter, the style that not only won him the middleweight championship but could keep him on top for a long time. According to them, fans should expect more of this version of Khamzat going forward. He isn't changing, he isn't trying to become something different for entertainment value. value. He's sticking with what makes him nearly impossible to beat. The narrative that he's lost his explosiveness or is being too cautious is in their eyes completely wrong. They believe this approach is what will make him dominant for years. Big John explained that Khamzat has a clear and consistent pattern in his fights. The first thing he does is shoot for a takedown almost immediately, often within the first 20 seconds of a fight. Against du Plessis, he took him down in just 5 seconds. That's the kind of eye intensity and speed that defines who he is as a fighter. It's not random, it's not changing, it's his core identity. The only real exception came in his fight with Gerald Meerschaert, where Khamzat didn't go for the takedown. Instead, he landed a brutal knockout in just 16 seconds. Outside of that one example, the blueprint has been the same. He storms forward, closes distance faster than anyone, and forces his opponent into deep waters right from the start. That's the style that's carried him all the way to the top of the division. Josh Thompson echoed the same sentiment, saying that people need to stop expecting Khamzat to reinvent himself every fight. The reality is, his dominance comes from being predictable within his predictable pattern. Everyone knows what's coming, but nobody can stop it. That's what makes him so dangerous. It's not about highlight reel finishes anymore, it's about controlling the fight, breaking opponents mentally, and ensuring the win every single time. Right now, Khamzat sits at the very top of the middleweight division, and his next opponent will likely be determined by whoever delivers the most impressive performance out of Amav, Boralho, RDR, and Fluffy. Whoever it ends up being, Big John and Josh are confident the approach won't change. The man you saw against du Plessis is the man you'll see going forward. Methodical, efficient, dominant. That's Khamzat at his very best. Moving on to another news, UFC featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski has expressed his interest in fighting Conor, calling it a dream matchup that would elevate his career to another level. This comes as Volk prepares for his next title defense after reclaiming the belt at UFC 314 in April when he defeated Diego Lopes. That victory was the perfect comeback after suffering a tough loss to Ilya at UFC 298 earlier in February 2024. Conor, on the other hand, has not stepped into the octagon since 2021 when he lost to Dustin Poirier at UFC 264. However, his recent re-entry into the testing pool signals his intention to fight again. While the weight difference may make this matchup a challenge, especially since Conor hasn't fought at lightweight since that loss to Poirier, Volk himself did move up to lightweight in 2023 against Islam, proving he is willing to test himself outside his division. Despite the hurdles, Volk admitted that Conor would be the ultimate fight for him because of the stardom, attention, and financial opportunities it would bring. Probably Conor, man, I would pick to fight, Volkanovski said. A lot of people are gonna sit there and be like, oh yeah, Conor is a boring answer, but he was in the featherweight division during that era when he was an absolute superstar. The position you can put yourself in just by fighting that guy. When you talk about building your platform, when you talk about money and all of that, the stage you're on, you need to take advantage of it. That's one fast track to getting people to notice you. Volk continued by giving Conor credit for the skills that made him so dangerous in his prime. He explained that people often overlook how sharp and innovative Conor was, describing him as a fighter slightly ahead of his time. He was a good fighter, he was a great fighter, Volk said. His accuracy, his timing, his setups, the way he understood what worked for him, that was special. He was sharp, and I don't think people give him enough credit for how good he actually was. Still, Volk admitted that time has changed things. While he believes Conor will remain sharp to some degree, he's convinced fans will never see the exact same version of the man who once dominated the featherweight division. For Volkanovski, though, the fight isn't just about legacy or testing skills. It's about stepping onto the biggest stage possible, taking full advantage of the spotlight, and cementing himself as one of the greats by beating one of the most famous names in UFC history. Moving on to another news, Paulo Costa has taken direct aim at Khamzat, blasting the newly crowned champion while revealing that the UFC has already offered him another fight. For Costa, the frustration is clear. He has been calling for Khamzat for a long time, wanting that matchup ever since the middleweight division was shaken up. After Khamzat captured the belt from du Plessis in dominant fashion at UFC 319, Costa wasted no time making it known that he wanted the shot. This isn't the first time their names have been linked. Back at UFC 294, the fight between Costa and Khamzat was already set. It was supposed to be a massive showdown, but just days before the event, everything collapsed. Costa was forced to withdraw due to a serious elbow infection, and that clash disappeared. Ever since then, fans and Costa himself have been waiting for the opportunity to revisit it. Despite hitting a tough patch in his career, Costa managed to turn things around at UFC 318 in July. Facing Roman Copillo in the co-main event, he delivered a sharp, disciplined performance that silenced critics and snapped his losing skid. He walked away with a clean decision win, proving he still has plenty left in the tank. On the microphone afterward, Costa wasted no time calling out Khamzat directly, demanding the fight that slipped through his hands a year earlier. Costa even admitted he would have been happy fighting du Plessis, the former champion who had just been dethroned by Khamzat. That would have been another massive opportunity at the very top of the division. Instead, according to Costa, the UFC offered him something else entirely. Rather than booking him against Khamzat or du Plessis, they matched him with another Russian opponent, this time far from home on the other side of the world. That revelation left Costa unimpressed. From his perspective as a one-time title challenger and a top 15 ranked middleweight, he has earned the right to face the best of the best. Accepting a fight with an unranked opponent feels like a major step back, especially when he has been campaigning loudly for a showdown with the new champion. Costa's words carried the fire fans know him for. He made it clear he wants only big fights, the kind that push him closer to another title shot. But with Khamzat newly crowned and already looking at the top of the division, Costa has been left in limbo. His frustration isn't just about the opponent itself but about the missed opportunity to face the names he has been chasing. For Costa, fighting another unranked Russian is not the reward he wanted after clawing his way back into the win column. What he wanted was Khamzat, what he asked for was du Plessis, and what he got was something else entirely. Costa has made it clear he is ready for the top, and he won't stop blasting until he gets it. That's it from MMA Pulse News. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for daily MMA news.